Welcome, good evening, and hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jim Carl. I am the Senior Director of Film Programming at the Carolina Theater of Durham, and I'm also the founder of the Nevermore Film Festival. And I'm very excited that tonight we have cast and crew from the feature film Til Freddy joining us tonight for a live conversation and Q&A. They are broadcasting all the way from Norway. So let's get started. Let's bring in our co-moderator for this event. Her name is Ronnie Rosbachs.
Hi, friends.
Ronnie is a member of the jury on Nevermore, and she is also a fantastic social media coordinator. So all those email blasts and Twitter and Instagram, that's all thanks to Ronnie. And Chuck Wheeler. Let's not forget
Chuck Wheeler. Don't forget Chuck Wheeler.
All right, let's bring in some people into the chat. So first of all, we have the producer of this film. His name is Carl Oscar Osley. Carl.
Hi.
Hey, Carl, how you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful to see you. Hey. All right, next up is the lead actor from this film, Freddy himself. It is Nikolai Narvisson lead.
Hey, guys.
Nikolai, so good to see you.
Good to see you too. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. And last, we have the director, the writer, the editor, and one of the actors as well for this film, Viljar Boch.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Viljar, good to see you.
Likewise.
Wonderful. So all three of you are broadcasting from Norway, I see.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, wonderful. So glad to have you guys. And from what I understand, the three of you guys know each other from university. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Me and Viljar took our bachelor in film and TV production, and Nikolai did the 3D and VFX, and we had a lot of cooperation between the two studies. So.
And Nikolai, you told me earlier that you are in animation. You went to animation?
Yeah, that's true. Bachelor's in animation and visual effects. So I pretty much failed that to be part of this movie. But it was worth it.
No animation projects coming up?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
No animation projects coming up?
No animation projects, no.
All right. Well,
I'd rather be in more movies if I had the choice.
Well, then let's just jump into it. Who came up with the idea for this film? Bilsar, was that you?
Yes, that was me. I came up with the idea.
Viljar,
I don't know, it feels weird. Yeah.
what was the inspiration for this?
I'm not really sure what the inspiration was, but it started out as a short script. If you remember the scene with where we first introduced the box, it started out as a short script, that whole scene. But instead of a box, it was a person coming in with the letters. But other than that, the scene was completely the same. And then a half a year afterwards, I kind of looked back on the script and thought maybe there was something more to it. And I've always been fascinated with like fate and the future and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. How did you end up casting everyone? Were all of you friends just because of school, or was it you found random people off the street and drug them into the woods, or how did that work?
I don't have a lot of creativity, so and I'm not good at making characters. So I thought I'd just use the people I already know. So I kind of, before I wrote the script, I kind of asked them, "Do you want to be part of the film?" And then they said yes. And then I wrote the script around their personalities. And then the only one I didn't actually for was Nikolai himself. He's the only one that's not specifically based on him, actually.
Who is he based on?
Another friend of mine who went to the same university. but he didn't have the chance to be part of it. But it worked out brilliantly with Nikolai.
Is he happy with his portrayal by Nikolai?
I think it's a very different type of character. No, they're very different people. I think the only thing is the dialect is somewhat similar, but other than that, it's not the same person. No.
Okay. Where was it filmed?
Where it was filmed? It was filmed in a small town named Steinkjer, where the university are located. So it's filmed in the forest right outside of that town.
Okay. Is all of you already?
Sorry, what?
Is all of Norway that beautiful?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
It's even more beautiful other places. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
So I have a question for you guys. You guys were all friends before you made this movie, then you spent all this time together. I assume you guys are still hanging out after the making of this film?
Yeah, I mean, me and Vilja are actually taking a master's degree right now together, and working on new projects. So
there's a question from the audience. I guess Simon Jurgensen wants to know why he's not in this Q&A.
do you want to answer that, Vilja?
I didn't think he would bring up anything interesting to the table. No, I'm kidding. If you ask too many people, then we could have invited everyone, but I don't know. I'm sorry, Simon. I'm very sorry that you didn't get invited. You would have been a great part of the thing. Yeah. He would have exposed me. That's the problem. He would have said he has ill will to say. So I didn't trust having him on the Q&A. It would be yeah.
So did you guys just go camping in the woods and shoot a movie? How did this progress look? How did this production go out in the woods? Were you actually camping?
Well, first of all, it has a lot to do with budgets. I mean, the original feature script was originally written around, a cabin in the woods type situation. And money is always an issue when shooting films, and we didn't really find some cabins that was suitable for our needs, and we did what we had to do and changed up the script, and ended up shooting in the woods, even without a tent, which was also sort of a budgetary thing. So it just happened organically during our development process when we saw that the budget we imagined when we started working on this idea wouldn't really come through 100%. So yeah.
Nikolai, was this your first lead at a film, or I'm sure you had acted out before, but was this your first time in front of a film camera?
It was not my first time in front of a film camera, because I'd been in several short movies and had a couple of leads in those as well. I actually acted for Bilsar in a short the first time we worked together, a movie called Bear Squad. So that's where we first started getting to know each other, like work-wise, and that we figured out we clicked.
So Nevermore chat says, why did you pick Nevermore to submit to?
Well, last year we were selected to Nightmares Film Festival, and where we won best thriller, and it was through there we met a lot of great filmmakers, and it's a great community both there and as well as it is here. So it was actually through Nightmares that we heard a lot of great things about Nevermore, and we knew that it was a great fit for Til Freddy. So it was kind of a no-brainer when we heard about you guys.
Yeah, Jason Tostovan and the crew over at Nightmares are phenomenal. I've known those guys for many, many years. Bunch of scoundrels, but we love them. So yeah. So tell me a little bit about the actual production shoot itself. What was the most challenging thing about being out in the woods for so long? How many days were you guys out there? Any particular favorite scenes that you guys remember shooting? Tell us some funny stories about what happened out there in production that we don't get to see in the movie.
Well, I think for me at least, being the hardest part is just being outside in the woods. You can't really control anything, and Norway is just really the worst place to film outside because it's completely changing. It's there's no day where it's completely sunny the whole day. Suddenly it starts raining and stuff like that. And but it was a lot of fun. I think my favorite thing was fighting with Nikolai. Was my favorite moment in the whole film. It's was actually the most relaxed, and I don't know. It was maybe you can talk more about that if you want.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That was a good day of shooting. I got to beat up my boss and duct tape him to a tree. So that was a good day of work.
How long did it take to get out of that tape?
I had a similar question because I've seen the film twice, and when Nikolai tapes you to that tree, the camera picks up, he wraps your hair in that as well. So I think that's real tape. When this shot is done, you're going to be pulling hair out of from your head.
It was not possible for me alone getting out of the duct tape. I was actually and I think I kept my composure pretty well during the whole shoot. But that was one of the few times we had to do 2 takes of it due to well, it doesn't matter. But that was one of the few times I in some ways I went a little crazy. But no, it hurt. I heard you can use fake movie tape. I think that apparently that exists. That's not, but we used real tape.
So an audience question was, what was the process of fleshing out your short script into a feature?
It was actually pretty simple. Or the original short script was just a scene from the film, pretty much, and then I realized that you could do something more with it. So when I realized you can do more with it, and then I realized you can actually make a feature out of it. So I didn't make the script thinking first that it would be a feature. I just realized that this was becoming pretty long, and then I actually saw that it was actually possible to make. So I thought it was a good opportunity to try making a feature. Yeah.
So the film is short at 72 minutes. So was there more footage that you shot that didn't make it into the final cut? Were there scenes that you had to cut? Because it's 72 minutes, which is a perfect length, by the way. I'm not criticizing that at all. But it's unusual for a feature to be 72 minutes. And I was thinking to myself, Was there more footage that you shot, other scenes, then you just pared it down to the essential story?
And I don't think there were any scenes we shot that I can remember. But the script, the first original script, had much more plot. Yes, it was. I think it was up to like 100 pages, and then we cut it down to 70. It was the whole sequence with Freddy going crazy and stuff was supposed to be a lot longer, but it was just easier to shoot less pages pretty much. So I tried to keep my scripts as short as possible so I can shoot as little as possible too.
And I think that's it was a good decision. I think the pacing of the film really is good as it is now. It flows very good. So at least for me, it was that was it was a very good decision to actually cut those pages. Yeah.
One of the things that I absolutely love about this script is the simplicity of it. Other than setting up the premise, there's not a lot of time spent on. I mean, after watching the film a second time, I thought to myself, it's really refreshing that the script does not introduce a love interest, which is very much an American kind of a thing. Nor at any point in the film do any of the guys talk about girlfriends, talk about family. There's no backstories to any of the characters. The film is this particular moment in time, and that's all we care about. There is no outside, like I said, backstories coming in, friends from other friends arriving at the camp. Was that a deliberate choice to not give the characters any kind of a backstory, or was that something that you ended up cutting?
No, that was one of the main reasons why I chose to base it around people I already knew. So I already like knew who they were as people and stuff like that. But I knew like not something you need to explain, but so I had like things to I'm not really sure how to but yeah, I didn't feel the need to explain too much. No, I want to keep it as I'm a simple person, so I try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm not clever enough to have all these great characters with backstories and stuff like that. So I try to just, instead trying to do that, I instead just drop it and just let it be as it is, I guess.
One of the questions that's coming up is, what advice would you give to future filmmakers that have low budgets that are trying to just start in the business? I believe, Bilsar, not only have you finished Til Freddy, but you've also are in post-production on a second film and are in pre-production on a third at the same time. So again, now that you're no longer a first-time filmmaker anymore, what would you say to people who do want to start making their own films?
I'd say just write about whatever you know, and don't get too caught up in what you don't have. Just look at what you already have, and that comes not only with location and stuff, but also with equipment. And I feel like a lot of people are too hung up in, but we need this dolly and we need this jib and we need this tracking shot in this movie. But if you only have a tripod, then you're just going to have to live with all the shots being static. Or if you only have a shoulder rig, you're just going to live with the whole movie being handheld. So you just lean into what you already have and make it a static thing rather than a crutch. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Carl, it looks like you're muted right now, so let's bring you back on. Carl, can you hear us? Because we've lost your audio, it seems like. Here we go. There you
you
go.
hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. I wasn't muted, but okay.
Oh no.
Well, it looks like he's having streaming issues. So if you had a bigger budget, what would you have done differently, Bilsar?
I think I do all the wrong things. I think I would have put it in a cabin, and I don't know. I think mostly put in a cabin, and I would have made it longer. And that's really the only things I can think of. Really, yeah. And I'm not sure if the movie would have been any better of it. I think maybe I would have made the movie worse if I had too much of a budget. Because I don't have the creativity to think of something. I need to have strict rules on what I can't do. I think that helps me a lot.
Carl, it looks like you're back with us. What were you going to say?
I was going to, can you hear me first of all? Yeah. I was going to say that a great script is paramount. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how much equipment you have if you don't have a good story. And I mean, if you can, or if you or someone you know can write a great story and have that has great potential, then go out and make that, and don't really think about what you, as Vidar said, don't think about what you can't get, and make something. I mean, we made this film on pocket change, and I mean, it achieved a lot more than I think any of us would imagine when we started to make this film.
It's never explained in the movie what the box is or where it comes from or who put it there. Is that a deliberate choice? Is that always part of the script, or was there originally an answer that got cut? People are asking on chat right now, where does the box come from? This film skews toward mystical, time travel, or is any of that correct?
I think mystical, and I don't want to say too much. To me, I think the key is that it's a movie mostly from Freddy's perspective, and whatever information he doesn't get is the information the audience never will get. That's how I look at it. I don't want to. I'm scared. I don't. I feel like a lot of people like the fact that it's not explained, and I feel some people are annoyed by it. But I don't want to. I'd rather annoy the people who wants to wants to know what the box is, and rather than ruin it for the people that doesn't want to know.
One of the things that I do have to comment on, having watched the film several times now, the shot of the box itself, how big it is. And I remember watching the scene where Nikolai is packing to go on the trip, and he opens up the duffel bag and then shoves this huge box into the top of the duffel bag that takes up half the duffel bag. And I thought to myself, Freddy, why don't you just take the letters out of the box and put them in a smaller box and put that in your backpack? Why do you need the big box? Was that a deliberate, again, from a budgetary? You couldn't afford a little box for the letters. It's this huge box.
It was the only box I found. It wasn't even supposed to be. I was trying to find like a shoebox thing. I didn't. That was.
Is there a
the only
box shortage in Norway or something?
Apparently, I mean, when it comes to items in Norway, you only get one out of each thing. You don't have a huge variety of things like you have in the US, for example. It's yeah.
So is the box back at your house? Are you using it?
I actually have no idea where it is. That's actually too bad. I have no idea where it went.
I mean, a lot of
valuable prop someday. Valuable prop.
I mean, a lot of the props were actually, last minute buys. I think it wasn't the greeting cards actually just a last minute idea as well. They were originally just normal letters, but then when we were out shopping for props, it kind of wasn't. We thought it was a good idea to actually make them greeting cards instead. It was kind of a more of a original thing.
I didn't want to, and then I didn't want like design my own either. So I thought it was easier to just buy already made ones. And I think they were bought like last minute. Like, I don't think we even bought all the letters at once. I think we bought some of them, and then we realized we didn't have all of them, and then we'd buy more. And yeah,
I mean,
over last minute.
We shot the film over 20 days approximately, over a little bit longer period when we had to stop because of the weather. But yeah, it was a few shopping rounds while shooting.
We're getting a lot of chatter on the comments about that witch t-shirt. What was up with that?
I really like that. I spent a lot of money on it. And I hardly use it, so I thought might as well just put it in the film. So whatever happens to it, it will at least be in the film.
Nikolai, as your first lead in a full-length feature, what was your favorite scene other than the part where you got to beat the shit out of Bilsar? What was the shoot?
I think maybe it's not just one scene, but we had one day of shooting where we did the dumping of the car, and it was just like a whole day of road trips and going down to the river to clean off the blood on my face, and yeah, that scene or that whole day of shooting was I think was my favorite.
And Bilsar, as a director, what was the day that you had? What was the day that you look back on now and think to yourself, I never want to go through that kind of a day again? Did you even have one, or did the shoot just go perfectly?
Definitely did not go perfect. I think it is the duct tape scene, or either that or the opening scene. I think we because that was not just one day. That was 3 days of me not being able to get the shot properly. So I think yeah, either that's the opening scene or the duct tape scene are two things I don't want to make those mistakes again. No.
Hey, Ronnie, glad to see you back. We can't hear you, Ronnie.
All of my internet died across all of my devices, and I was just like, oh no, what happened? But I'm back. Hello. What did I miss? Where did you get the witch shirt?
It's a online ceramics. It was actually part of the A24. It was like limited edition. Now I just sound like I'm flexing, but no, it was just like I actually never buy clothes, and that was the one thing I looked at it and I need it. That was, yeah.
So where do you get clothes?
Presents and stuff like that. I buy clothes, but that was one of the few things where I enjoyed buying it. Like I actually wanted it. Yeah, I'm not a stylish person at all.
And Carl, going back to being in the producer seat, what does it mean to be a producer? If somebody were to walk up and ask, what did you do? What would you say? If I want to be a producer, what does it entail for you?
Well, to tell you the truth, I mean, it's a lot of the quote unquote boring stuff of filmmaking. It's a lot of the planning and the contracts and the budgets and the money and a lot of numbers and letters. But at the same time, I do like to be hands-on in the story process and the creative part of it. I always consider myself a creative person, so whenever I can, I do always have notes on the scripts, and creative choices in the editing or post production in general. I am usually not very present during the actual shooting. I do a lot in pre-production, and once the pre-production ends and the production starts, my job doing the festival strategies and potential distribution and stuff like that comes up on my agenda. So, but when I have such great people to collaborate with, that's no problem for me, being the boring guy. So I really enjoy what I do and want to keep doing that.
So we have the director of another Nevermore film, an ideal host. Robert Woods is asking a question. How long did the editing take?
I think 2 months. I think around 2 months. I didn't. It was actually like, yeah. I didn't use a lot of time on it, but I think around 2 months. Yeah, after the production was done, because I did a little bit of editing during the shooting. But yeah,
which is very, very short for a feature. And I think we were. I think it was a good thing that we were so prepared in pre-production, that we had the story pretty much wrapped up, and it was just doing what the plan said, and it turned out that it really worked. So
there was an audience question for Nikolai. What was the process for playing Freddy for you?
The process was getting up early in the morning and learning my lines, which I always failed to do the night before because we always shot late. And yeah, and then we got to location, and I asked Viljar for my directions and tried to find my motivations for whichever scene we were shooting. And I always try to reach into my paranoia for playing Freddy a little bit, because he's a paranoid guy, and becomes even more so during the course of the film. So that was that's pretty much the process.
We need to start wrapping it up a little bit, guys. So I'm going to ask each of you, what's next? What is next for the film? What is next for each of you? And oh my God, I don't want to say this. We need you guys to talk Norwegian. I think it'd be amazing. I've only ever heard you speak in Norwegian, so it's interesting to hear you guys speaking now in English. But for our Norwegian audience that's out there that's possibly listening and that will watch this in the future, why don't you answer the question in English as well as Norwegian? How about that? Okay,
I'll start then. Me and Carl are gonna, on the future for this film, we'll see. But me and Carl are doing a pre-production on a feature, and then we're finishing up another film, which Nikolai actually is main role in. Så vi har pre-prod på en film og post-prod på en annen.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for me, it's doing. We are planning on doing the festival run for our second feature, me and Viljar. as Vidar said, Nikolai also plays in, and doing our third feature, which we are planning on doing, shooting in the fall, and yeah, I have some small projects on the side, animated series idea in development. Så ja, festivalrunde på den andre spillefilmen vår, så utvikler det og blir ferdig med vår tredje, som vi filmer til høsten.
All right. So I'm hoping to move to Oslo as soon as this pandemic is over, so I can start going to auditions and try to get some more roles in more movies. Ja, ønsker å flytte til Oslo, prøve lykken der og gå på audition.
Congratulations to all three of you. Seriously, beautiful film. We loved it. So happy that it played at Nevermore. So from Nevermore, thank you to Nikolai, Bilsar, Carl, and our co-moderator, Ronnie. We are signing out. Guys, thank you so much. We are signing off.
Happy Nevermore. Thanks for
Thank you for having us.
Happy
Thank you so
Nevermore.
much for having us.